If you were a kid growing up in the early 2000s, it was highly likely you were watching Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
You're goddamn right.
And suddenly, in late 2009, a new game appears on the shelf at GameStop. Star Wars: The Clone Wars Republic Heroes.
Oh my god! Wow!
And the game is for pretty much every platform out there. Wii, Xbox 360, even the Nintendo DS got a version. But let me tell you, back then, this game got absolutely hammered in reviews.
I'll have to ask my accountant about that.
And it's much the same to this day. As a kid myself at the time, I only had the money for one Star Wars game, so I went for the far superior title, The Force Unleashed. So I've never found myself subject to the pain that is Star Wars Republic Heroes. That is, until today. With a whopping 43% on Metacritic, this is the worst reviewed Star Wars game. Now, upon booting up the game, you're met with two difficulty choices, Padawan or Master. I guess we're skipping the whole Jedi Knight stage of things. And immediately we begin our adventure, zooming in on a Clone Wars battle with a Republic assault, well underway. Now, the lore they explain of this battle is that the Separatists ended up making an example of one of their cities that revolted against them. I don't know exactly what that means. I think it means they killed everyone and committed a war crime or two, which, hey, we've all done before. But in this case, the Jedi, being the peacekeepers that they are, decide to go on in and stop things. Now, these cutscenes, as well as the dialogue, are fantastic. It's pretty much one for one what you would expect a Star Wars: The Clone Wars TV episode to be like.
If we can't go forward, we'll have to go up.
Up where?
Follow me, Snips.
The actors reprise their roles for the game, which just adds a nice touch to it, and the writers clearly knew the characters extremely well. Everything said in the dialogue is exactly what you'd expect those characters to say. Now, that does become a bit of a problem, as early Ahsoka in the Clone Wars TV series was, let's just say, not a fan favorite in the slightest. And so that translates into some people hating her character in this game as well. And I have to say, she can be a little bit grating at times, but not quite as grating as Yoda, who, right off the rip, starts speaking in your ear, non-stop, like all the time. Oh, you're gonna swing your lightsaber? Let's have 8 dialogue pop-ups for Yoda to explain how. Oh, you wanna jump? Here's 8 more dialogue pop-ups. It's constant. And just when you think you've heard the last of the little green man there, you hear him again and again. For the first hour of the game, it felt like he was just constantly blabbering, stopping the progression of gameplay. It was brutal. And even still, the controls of this game are so unbelievably abysmal that the constant tutorials feel like a slap in the face. Oh, wait. Shift is roll. Let me in! Why can't I pick up whatever the heck that is? Bro, I don't know how to aim up. They didn't train me for this. Maybe if the controls made sense in the slightest, then it would flow naturally and you wouldn't need 10 billion hints from Yoda. Now, essentially, we are assigned to go and flank around the back of the droid army here, navigating and doing some parkour, which really, the parkour is pretty abysmal as well. You know, Lego Star Wars parkour? It's a lot of jumping, it's a lot of frustration, it's a lot of lost studs. But at the very least, it feels rewarding once you get to the other side. Well, the parkour in this is pretty much the exact same. However, it doesn't matter because you'll never miss your jump. Literally, Yoda says at the beginning of the game that Jedi will not miss their jumps. So you're free to just yeet yourself over there. But then, certain jumps are extremely hard and the angle they give you is impossible. So you're either getting jumps that literally cannot be missed because the game locks you into place, or jumps that are so hard to do that you end up baby raging after 5 minutes. Eventually we do flank the droids and you get some cool mechanics like being able to take over super battle droids and get them to shoot each other. Okay, there we go. There, I got him. No worries, Snips. You also get to use the Force quite a bit, which is really satisfying. Just yeeting droids off of cliffs is peak gameplay. But as we continued on our adventure, I found Ahsoka to be actually more annoying than anything. She would get in the way quite often. She also would kill a lot of the droids that we needed to use for objectives, like these floaty droids, which you had to ride and then get them to like Beyblade up to kill blocks and things like that. Well, she just kept killing them. So I couldn't complete the objective because she would just slaughter them immediately before I could take them over. Not to mention her voice lines. Oh, it got grating. Oh, early Ahsoka was annoying.
Nice one, Sky Guy.
But I would just take out my frustration on the hordes of droids that just kept coming. And this is early Star Wars games, so there was plenty of disembowelment going on for the droids. It was extremely satisfying. And finally, we completed our flank. But there was just one problem. A very large tri-droid stood in our way, so in true Jedi fashion, we froze the legs using the Force, climbed on up top, and one by one eliminated their cannons until the beast was felled. At that point, the first mission was over, and it took us under 6 minutes to complete it, which I was a little bit surprised, and I chalked it up to just being the tutorial level. However, the next 2 levels we play were also basically pure tutorial levels.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
And the tutorial doesn't stop there. It's just a tutorial game, it seems like. Yoda popping up left and right, like Navi. But that's okay, because the game then gives us an item shop to spend our points on at the start of level 2. And this is the strangest shop I've ever seen. You can basically buy Fortnite dance moves, you can buy massive heads to stick on Anakin, as well as a billion other cosmetics. Naturally, I bought a gigantic Boba Fett head, and oh my, is it startling. And not only does this appear in the base gameplay, it also appears in every cutscene, making the cutscenes extremely difficult to take seriously when you have a massive Boba Fett head about 10 times bigger than your body.
We did it, Sky Guy.
Bruh! What? Oh, it comes up in cutscenes too! This shop is one of those things you'd find in like the Lego Star Wars games. I keep bringing them up because this game wants to be Lego Star Wars so badly. But it's like one of those Lego Star Wars shops that you would find in the late game, and you'd have to save up 1,000,000 studs to get this feature in the game, and you've probably already completed the entire campaign by the time you can buy all the goofy outfits and things like that. But instead, Star Wars Republic Heroes decides to give it to you after the quote-unquote tutorial level. Either way, we continue infiltrating a separatist fortress compound right now, basically taking out the droids inside while the clone troopers work towards the perimeter. And you can see the clones in the background fighting as you go, makes it feel very cinematic. But this is where the control rage really starts to take over me. As I'm slicing and dicing through droids, it just becomes more and more strenuous to actually position your character or use the Force. This is mapped horribly, and it's an unresponsive, glitchy mess. And oh baby, is it about to get so much worse. We finally link up with the clone troopers after defeating the vast majority of the droids in the compound. The clone troopers here are actually unique characters to the game. we've got Boomer and Kano, who end up actually developing some interesting personalities as we go on, and they quickly become my favorite characters, but not to play as, because we are assigned to start taking out droves and droves of droids. And for some reason, the clones are tasked with taking out like the vast majority of the army here. We've got a squad of like 4, and Anakin and Ahsoka were taking on like 3 or 5 droids at a time. We're taking on like 30, and it is not easy. The weapons do not shoot the way you want them to in the slightest. They are firing every which way, and it just doesn't make sense with the controls. There's no rhyme or reason to where you're firing, and you end up just having to spin around trying to shoot whatever you can because the controls are that poorly set up that there is no way to actually be truly accurate. The one saving grace is the thermal detonators they give you. First of all, you get unlimited droid poppers, which stun droids. They don't actually kill them in this, but then you can also pick up thermal detonators, which when I was able to do that, I just only used those because you could take out droid after droid wave with them easily. And despite the coolness of playing as clone troopers in this game, it was pretty much completely undermined by the fact that it was virtually unplayable. The amount of baby rage I was going through was unreal. And then, as you clear choke point after choke point of droids, all of a sudden they have these mini missions throughout the map, little challenges, which I've seen in other older games before too, similar to this, but it's very strange because you just finished clearing out the entire area of droids, and this little mini mission pops up for you to go ahead and play and try and get a best score medal for, which doesn't make any sense. We're moving through this mission. Shouldn't that be unlocked after you complete the mission? Because you could just go straight through the mission, unlock this, and then just play that during the mission trying to get a high score in it. And it's very jarring. It doesn't make any sense, and it completely disrupts the flow of our narrative here. Truly, it feels like everything in this game is trying to replicate features of LEGO Star Wars and then failing to do so because they implement it in the most clunky way of all time. Regardless, we continued blasting through droid after droid until we get to this position here, where I was getting shot off screen. However, the camera refused to let me move in the other direction to shoot the droids off screen. And there were droids up on these cliffs that were shooting down at me, and there's no way to shoot up unless randomly your character decides to. I thought maybe there'd be like a sweet spot where I could shoot upwards if I was at the right angle or something, and it just was not happening. So I either had to rely on my clone trooper brothers here to fire upwards and kill the droid, or I had to get lucky with some random stray shot getting spammed out of my blaster and happening to hit that droid a couple times. Oh, and did I mention you can also melee droids in this? And they used the same killing animation that they used for the lightsabers, in that if you swing at a droid with your gun and, bash him across the head, it cleaves his head in half like a lightsaber would. So these guys got some sharp elbows to use. So while you're able to disembowel these droids even as clone troopers, the clone troopers themselves, I don't fully understand. Because your squad mates can die, but when they die, they dissolve like they're a hologram, and then they spawn back in from like a hologram as well. So these aren't real clone troopers in this game, or they are and the game just didn't want it to be graphic, so they made all of the clone troopers holograms? It's really weird, and it just sucks you right out of the lore of actual Star Wars. I mean, this is coming from the TV series, which had some of the most gruesome and dark, depressing deaths in all of Star Wars history.
Move or you'll be cut in half!
For some reason, these clones can't just get shot and fall over. That's not okay. They have to dissolve as a hologram. Either way, these dummy droids accidentally left one of their holo communicators on, and we learn their entire plan. So we communicate that over to Anakin, who then is going to be taking it from here, leading us to our next Jedi mission. And at this point, I discovered that the third mission in this game features a bug where you can kill these stap speeder droids over and over again, getting a pretty nice multiplier as you get kills to your score, and just raising your score higher and higher and higher. Keep in mind, this is the score that you use at the shop, and also it's just impressive that you can break the game by continually slaughtering these stop speeders that are programmed to not fight back and respawn 1 second after you kill them. So you can pretty much infinitely bug this and get a super high score, or just buy everything in the shop if you desire that. I don't know why you would when you could just have the Boba Fett head for pretty cheap and rock that the whole game, but I guess you might want to get the droid gritty going from the dance moves.
Hey, can the droid come up your crib? Screw you, I'll see you on the battlefront. Oh, Clanka, don't hate me because I'm brilliant, Clanka. Maybe if you get fixed that busted processor of yours, you'd actually be able to hit the target. Oh, better yet, maybe General Grievous would notice and stop smashing your sorry little cap so hard every time you make a sound. Clanka.
Now the rest of the campaign is more of the same. It cuts between Jedi and Clone Trooper. It does introduce a couple more abilities like the Clone Trooper's jetpacks, which adds some fun additional gameplay elements to it, but overall, the game consistently delivers the same level types to you over and over again. It gets kind of exhausting. Yes, the environments do change, the Clone Trooper commanders change, the Jedi change, but it ends up kind of being the same thing, yet again, every level. At the end of the day, playing through the rest of the campaign, it really became clear to me why people hate this game so much. Number one, it was just kind of a symptom of the times. People were not all that bullish on Star Wars, the Clone Wars as a whole, unlike the cult following that it has developed over the years. At the time, people just found it annoying, so immediately the reception was just not going to be all that great. But on top of that, the major problem is the controls. It is an absolute disaster, and it leads to more frustration than anything. Now, I've seen a lot of people commenting that it's a little bit better on the Xbox, and that sounds great. I was playing it on PC, and I've heard the Wii version is also absolutely atrocious for controls. Even still playing with a regular controller, people also say, not the best, but it's at least a little bit more manageable. But simultaneously, playing the same levels essentially over and over again gets old. You really only are going to find much enjoyment out of it if you're playing because you're a super Star Wars The Clone Wars fan. Playing for the visuals, playing for the story is really what's there. Playing for the actual gameplay, it's not there at all. If this was some unknown sci-fi property, this game would have bombed even harder. The fact that it's Star Wars makes it have value to it. I'll be giving away a copy of the game to one lucky winner. All you gotta do is hit the like button, subscribe, and comment down below what game you guys want me to cover next in a review, or, you know, just trying it out for the first time, something like that. Either way, guys, thanks for watching, like and subscribe, peace.